crafters, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. This is Jana with Purple Girl Crafts. Today, we're going to be making this little dancing ant card. It's just with a mechanism that you pull the arm and they move back and forth. This card requires no die cuts, so let's just dive right in and get started. So we'll need our scoreboard. Now for the first piece, I already did this because I started the card and realized, oh, I'm going to do a video on this one. So it's 4.5 by 7. And then the top piece, the layer piece, is 4 1/4 by 6 3/4. The back piece is also 4 1/4 by 6 3/4. And that's just a standard card that I always use. Right, then we need one piece, and this is going to be cut at 4 1/4 by 2 1/4. You'll need one piece at 3 3/4 by 4 1/2, and a piece that goes on top of that, which is 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. And that'll sit just like that. Then we need two pieces, and these are going to be cut at 1 inch by 2 1/4. You'll need two, and then you'll need two pieces at 1 inch by 4 1/2. And that's just a double up on that arm to make that arm stronger when you're pulling it back and forth. We need a piece of acetate that is 1 inch by 5 inches. All right, so we're done with our scoreboard, so we'll move that out of the way. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the mechanism. So I'm going to grab the two smaller pieces, and you'll need your ruler and a pencil. We're going to take one of the pieces and we're going to mark this right in the center at 1/2 inch. Then we're going to turn it and we're going to go 1/2 inch down from that point we just made. And that will be where we put our first mark. Let's go ahead and pop that through and poke that hole. Then you can just lay these together. And then just put your pencil in there and just make a little dot through that hole. And then that way you'll know where you can put the hole on the second piece. That way you don't have to measure it twice. We're going to do it again. This time we're going to go from an inch from the bottom and go right in that center. Oops, right in the center. And then just put a little mark right there. And again, poke that hole through. And then take that other piece, line it up again. Now you could just poke it with your poker if you want it, or do a pencil mark first just to be safe. Make sure it's lined up. Push through there, and then go ahead and just pop that hole through. Right, now those are for the two center of the arms that are going. Then for this other piece, the arm, we're going to glue these two together just to make it just a little bit sturdier, so it has a little bit of weight when you're pulling it back and forth. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to round all these edges, and I'm just using the 7 millimeter on my punch. Actually, I'm sorry, it's the 4 millimeter. And I'm just doing all sides of it. I'm not going to do the other end because we're going to end up cutting that shorter. This is too long. So I'm just going to cut that off for now, but we don't need to do you don't need to cut our corner of the edges right now on that end. We'll do that in a little bit. All right, now for the mechanism piece. So the white piece is going to lay at the bottom, and these two red pieces are what's going to get attached to this white piece. Now you don't want them too low like this, so you want to make sure that they're even and on top. I figured the easiest way to do this is we're going to grab our pencil, and I'm going to do a mark on the one piece at the bottom, because one of them on the right side needs the 3 holes. And I'm just doing the same thing. I just put it right in the center, just lining it up, and then this time I'm just going to poke right through. Now you can see it doesn't meet up to the bottom. You just want it on there so that you have your lever to pull it back and forth. It doesn't have to go to the end. It can, but it doesn't have to. All right, so we're going to corner those two edges on there. And now we're going to put our little brad inside that last one we just did, and then pop it through that arm. And then just go ahead and spread out that brad. And that will be the mechanism on the arm on the right-hand side that moves back and forth. Then for the other two pieces, what we're going to do is, so this piece of acetate is going to sit at the very top, Need to take off the plastic on it because it's got that double-sided coating on it to help it from getting dirty. So I took those off. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to lay this on here. You want this to go over about a 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to go up very high. It's just, this is what's going to hold the ant's feet onto the card. So it doesn't have to be very high. If you get it too high, it will show through, but it doesn't, you can't really see it. So, but you don't want it too high. What we're going to do is we're going to measure on the left one. We're going to put it at 1/4 inch from the edge. And then this one will lay there. We'll do this one in a second. So we're not going to do that one right now. So I'm just going to lay this so I can see exactly where it's going to go. I've got it lined up to the top of that white piece for my little arm here. And then I'm just going to put a dot on here. And I know this is very hard to see. It's hard for me to see it too. And then I'm just going to poke where I just put that pencil mark. You could probably use a pen or a marker if you wanted to make it easier to see. All right, then that when that is on there, we're going to attach it with a brad. So let me grab another brad. And then we're just going to put that right through that hole and then just secure it. So flatten out that brad. All right, as you can see, this will move freely then. All right, so I'm going to line that back up. And then I'm going to put this back on. I'm going to go that next line, which is 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch from the edge. So I'm just going to make sure it's my white paper is lined up with my lines. And then I'm just going to put a dot where that second hole is, because that's going to where we're going to attach this arm. Then on the other one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do it a 1/2 inch from the edge. We're going to make sure those are lined up. I'm just going to pop this one through first, and we're going to go ahead and secure this one down just to keep it kind of straight and so I can make sure this is lined up, because you want to make sure this is lined up so that the arm will move back and forth freely. All right, so now that we have that one on, all right, so I'm going to make sure it's lined up straight. And you can see this is what's going to move back and forth. All right, so I'm going to line up the right side of the paper with that edge of the board. And then I'm going to just do my 2 dots again. So I make sure it's top is lined up. I'm going to put my little pencil mark and through both of those holes. Then I'm going to take my poker and go through the piece of plastic first. And again, if you want to use a marker, it'd probably be easier to see. And then I'm going to poke that one through the white piece of paper. Grab 2 more brads. And we're going to put the brads on here. I'm just putting them both on for now. And then I'm going to do the top one first, because it's only going to get secured to that white piece or to the acetate. And then the center one will get secured to the white piece. Go ahead and just fold out that brad. And again, now the center one will get put onto the white piece and through it. So the only 2 pieces that are connected to the white are those 2 center circles. And then go ahead and just turn that over and open up that brad. All right. Then for the top of the card, so this is what's going to sit on the card. It's going to sit on here, and this is where you can position it depending on where your characters are. You can do it anywhere. And then this piece is going to sit on top of it. So before we do that, I'm going to grab one of the ants just so I could show you. Actually, let's put this on first. So we're going to glue this top piece onto this. And this is just to hide the mechanism on the card. That's all this for. So it can be any size you want it to be. It can be taller. You just want to make sure it's lined up to almost up to the edge so that you can see whatever your moving parts are and they move freely. All right, so we've got that piece glued down. So this is how this is gonna sit. So this is gonna sit on the card right here. And again, I'm gonna line it up in a second, depending on how big your characters are that you're gonna put on here. So I'm gonna line it up. This will sit on top, and then the character will go over on the top of the plastic. So I'm just lining it up to see where I want it. And then I'm just going to hold that down, straighten it out just a little bit. And then I know that's where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to grab some pop dots. And before we put them on there, I'm just going to take and just put a pencil mark just so I know that's where I want that to go. And then I'm going to put the pop dots on the opposite side. I'm just putting about 6 of them on here. All right, so I'm going to take this piece again. I'm going to line it up so that it's with the edge of the card, and where that line is, how low I want it to go. Just like that. And then make sure that's secure. As you can see, then this will move back and forth freely, and there's nothing getting in the way. Then that piece will go on top. So you also want to make sure that this is all the way in when you do it. So push it all the way to the left. And then I'm just going to mark where I want my little thumb cut out to be. So I'm just lining it up, and I'm going to cut where in between those two marks. So I'm using a thumb hole punch. And that way you've got just a little bit extra room to put your thumb in there for the mechanism, because we're going to cut that arm just a little bit short. Okay, so once you have this on, you want to make sure it's all the way to the left. And as you can see, it's just a little bit too long on the plastic. So this is where you can cut the plastic off, because you don't want it to stick outside the edge of the card. So cut off the right side, flip it over, and then before you do it, pull the arm back to the right, flip the card. That way it's not going to extend from the card when it's open and closed on either side, and just cut it just right. So it's just a little bit smaller than the size of your card, because it's not going to hurt in any way. You just don't want it to show when it's on there. All right, then for the ants, I have 3 of them. I was going to put 3 on the top, but I think it's just a little bit too much. They're going to sit on that little piece of plastic. So his foot is going to be under that plastic and on the top of it. So behind it. So the top of his foot will get glued to the piece of plastic. So I'm just putting some double-sided red tape on here. So I'm just finishing up putting the tape on the feet. And then we're going to glue 2 of these down. So I'm just taking the glue off. So again, it's on the top side of his foot. And then that little foot is going to be on the back side of the plastic. I'm just making sure there's nothing sticking over the edge, so it doesn't get caught anywhere else. And then I'm just going to lay him in. So he's on the left side, and his foot is just underneath that. So that all that's holding him on there is just that little bit of tape on that piece of plastic, and it will stay pretty good. Now it's okay if he goes outside the card. So you want to make sure this is pushed to the right when you're putting these on. And then we'll do the second one, and we'll do him just right about there. So again, I'm going to take the plastic off. And then again, I'm just going to lay him on there, put his foot underneath that plastic, and then just push the plastic onto his foot. That's so cute right now. Okay, then for the top piece, this is what's going to get glued on. So we're going to do some foam on here. And you could use foam squares or dots or anything. I have actually sheets of foam that you can cut, excuse me, into sizes. So this piece will work pretty good because it's not going to get in the way of anything. So I'm just going to make this just a little bit smaller. Just a little bit more. And not as wide. So I'm just going to cut it just a little bit more narrow. And then we'll put this piece at the very bottom. And I'm doing it to the bottom of the card first. Just so you see there's nothing, it's not going to get in the way of anything. And then we can take and put some pieces over on the side just to help hold the card. I'll put a piece right on this side. You want to make sure it doesn't hit, which it's pretty close, but it's fine. I want to cut this one just a little bit smaller on that right side because that way I can put a piece right there. This is the first attempt I made at this card, so like probably should have kept the plastic a little bit lower, but it's good. All right, so once we have all that down, we're going to take the pieces off so that we can secure it. And then so just going to line this up at the bottom, trying to make sure it's on as straight as possible. I'm going to actually try to see if I can do this a little bit easier. Make sure your arm is not on that piece of tape. And then just when you have it laid down, just go ahead and push it where the tape is and just secure it down. All right, then we're going to cut this arm. So now I've cut it so that when it is closed, the card is right under 5 inches. If you pull it out, it'll be fine. And then I'm just going to go ahead and round those corners on this one too. And you could have done this before you put that piece on to make it easier for you. I just didn't think about it. All right, then I'm going to erase those pencil marks just so that they're not on there. Then I've got my other ant, and then I have A Great Summer. And the Have a Great Summer is too big, so I just decided just to cut it down smaller and around it. I just printed it on a printer, so it wasn't a stamp or anything, so I just cut it down to size. I'm putting pop dots on the third ant. And he's going to sit on the corner of the card, and then I'm going to put some pop dots on the Have a Great Summer, and that'll sit right at the bottom of the card. And then I cut out just a little arrow, and that's going to go so that everybody knows how to use the card to pull it back and forth. And then the last thing I wanted to do is add just a couple of hearts just to give it just a little bit more color and just a little bit more excitement to the front of the card. And that is it. That is the card that we made today. I want to thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Please follow me on Facebook for some new images coming soon. Until next time, happy crafting, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.